Well, welcome everybody to week 2 of our May program for the Sunshine Coast Health Center alumni. And this month in May we're talking about connecting with others. So last week I talked about, or reminded you of your stay at Sunshine Coast Health Center, and when sort of the day you first got in, when you're all nervous and protective and wondering what's going on, to the time you left when you felt part of, felt a sense of belonging because you had connected with other people. And this week, how do you carry on this feeling with others, right? Now you may remember the story I told you of a fellow by the name of Ian Herod. And Ian and I got to know each other about 15 years ago. Now Ian's passed on now, but Ian's history was that he spent an awful lot of time in federal penitentiaries. He liked to rob banks because that was fun. He loved to get into high-speed car chases. He had a 35-year heroin addiction. He was married a few times. Never had a connection with them. Never had a connection with the kids from the marriage. Really a fellow who lived alone for most of his life. And then something happened to him, and he became this incredible human being where, despite his own pain, physical pain as a result of the addiction, he had active hepatitis C, he had cancer, he had ulcers, a whole bunch of things, physical ailments. But despite all of this, he always had a smile on his face. And in fact, his favorite saying was, "Have yourself a good day if you choose to." And that's the Ian I knew. The Ian who would go out of his way to help people, and he worked at a treatment center. And I recall he would even get up at 2 o'clock in the morning if someone said they needed to talk. And this despite all his physical ailments. And for Ian, it was this remarkable thing that happened to him when he was, when he got the idea that everybody had an angel. And if you remember the story, you remember his trip to the hospital and how he figured this all out. And it's not that I'm recommending you figure out how, get yourself into some kind of thinking that everyone's got an angel. That's not it. But just think of what it would mean to live your life if you believed everyone had an angel looking after him or her, okay? And that when you met someone, the way you were thinking of it is, for some reason, my angel thought it was, and the other person's angel thought it was a good idea for the two of us to get together. And if you could live your life like that, and this way of connecting with people is what Ian did 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all his time in recovery. And it was really quite remarkable what he achieved with this. So someone who had spent most of the time in jail, who was a social outcast, and then to become a very well-respected member of the community, and having cared for him. And the night before he died, he got married in the hospital. So that was good too. Finally found a connection there. But this idea of connecting with people at this level is a real key to recovery. And it takes work. I mean, it's not something that can happen to you overnight. To actually, when you approach another human being, to consider them a very valuable and worthwhile person. And most people who try to pull this trick off can do it as long as the other person is nice. But one of the real tricks about pulling off this kind of relationship is to do it even when the person's angry or is disrespectful. And that's a real trick. So one of the things I wrote about in the online program, you know, one of my big jokes is addicts in cars, right? So someone gives you the finger while you're driving. Well, do you get all bent out of shape by this? Or is it, do you, yeah, whatever, I guess they're having a bad day. Right? That kind of approach, right? To be able to look at another human being as a human being with all their insecurities, with all their imperfections, and say, well, that's okay. That's okay to be imperfect. And to approach people like that, and to be able to form this deep connection. Ian Herod, this guy who was just, you know, very tough fellow, and you didn't want to cross him and all that, I mean, I saw clients insult him or disrespectful to him, and no reaction. I mean, he still treated them with respect. Yet even at Sunshine Coast, you know, once in a while we'll find somebody who's all angry about something because, I don't know, so-and-so didn't clean up all the peas off the table, and they found this very disrespectful. Go out and really confront the person with anger, and all that does is that gets the other client all riled up, and he's and they get into this. Oh well, you've seen it before, right? But one of the keys to treating people, to practice treating people, is even if they are disrespectful to you, not to be disrespectful back, right? To still treat them. And this is something for recovery, and this is a real trick for recovery that you're going to have to learn, because people who are really happy in recovery have somehow figured this out. They don't take things personally. Just because someone's in a bad mood and gets mad at them, they don't react, right? Because they have found this inner peace and this serenity. Really obvious examples of this would be people like the Dalai Lama or the Pope or Mother Teresa or someone like that you've seen on television or read about in magazines. And these people, like the Dalai Lama, right? He even says very publicly, I don't hate the Chinese government, right? So he's looking at them as human beings. It's not that he agrees with what they're doing, that's not an issue, but he's looking at them beyond just their behaviors, right? And even the example I gave you with Pope John Paul II while you were a client here, right? As soon as he gets out of the hospital, because that fellow tried to kill him, and almost did, you know, the first thing he does is go to the jail and forgive the fellow, right? So he's treating the fellow as a human being. Not to say what this guy did was right, or it's somehow acceptable, or anything like that, but for the Pope as a human being, this is very important for him to be able to forgive the fellow. And this trick, and it really, I mean, it takes a lot of work to be able to do this stuff, right? And it demands a lot of practice. But to go through life and look at people, not based so much on their behavior, but who they are as human beings. And you need a lot of common sense too. Like, don't, you know, someone breaks into your house in the middle of the night, don't, oh yes, I feel your pain. Yeah, that's not a good idea, right? Yeah. So you need some common sense. But it's this concept of developing this attitude towards people, right? This, which, I don't know if you remember the fellow I talked to you about, this guy by the name of Martin Buber, who had this I-thou relationship. In other words, you're going to treat someone as an important, worthwhile human being. And if you can do that, I think you'll be amazed at how good you will feel, because what you're going to do is form a connection with that person, and a connection at a deeper level than just, you know, superficial small talk. But to actually look at this, to understand this person at this human level and where they're coming from and what they're struggling with. At any rate, that's week number 2, and we'll be back next week with another little hint.